your first big news already came out, and
Yes.
you are writing the Captain America video game for Sega.
Yes, I am.
How closely is this going to be tied in with the movie that's coming out next year as well?
It's not really. I mean, there was no. I've read the script, haha, and of the movie, but it's not a movie game. It's like they were just like, make the best game you can make. It's set during World War II, which is really cool because you've got a Captain America who's still discovering his powers and abilities and what he can do. So that was a lot of fun, and of course, getting to use some of the World War II era villains. Baron Strucker, Red Skull, Arnim Zola, Madame Hydra, who actually is not a World War II era villain, but now our policy is there always has been a Madame Hydra. Perhaps the same one we know now as Viper, perhaps not. I'm just getting really nerdy here, but Iron Cross, I needed to get an Invaders villain in there, so I was like, Iron Cross, and they were like, okay, give him Iron Cross.
Now, talk a little bit about the process of writing a video game versus writing a comic. Obviously, they're very different. The scripts are very different.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think one of the reasons they came to me was that I had also written for TV and film, so there's some parallels to that. But I also knew Captain America from the comics, and I mean, it is very different. And it's also much like in filmmaking. To say you wrote a video game, I mean, the development team is as much part of the writing process as me, of course. And it's sort of like you come in and they tell you the basic structure. We came up with an outline, a treatment. I don't know what you'd call it. And they're like, cool. And then they came to me and said, okay, we need these cinematic scenes, which are the points in the game where you get to and, if they're called cinematics, it's like a movie. And so I wrote those, and they were really happy because Marvel approved them on the first submission, so that was good. And, it's just a lot of fun. I mean, I got to write Arnim Zola, I got to write Red Skull, Captain America, and, you just script out the scenes, nothing too long. That's one of the things, voice acting is like, the first time I wrote an episode of Law & Order SVU and actually got to sit with my wife, Ruth, I should mention, because she was probably going to watch this, and I want to make sure that she knows that she's much better writer than I am. And you sit around the table and you get to, for the table read, and you get to hear the actors actually reading your lines, and you think what you wrote as a very short, pithy line is actually really, really long when a live person is saying it. So, try to keep things short, but at the same time, get into the spirit of it. I mean, as I tweeted at one point without saying what it was for, I was like, it's always a good day when you can get up and write, Fascist 9! So that was fun.
Is there anything that you had to change around because of it being for a game? Like that you started to write and they kind of said, well, no, we're not actually going to be able to do that?
As much as I wanted to refer to the Cap Wolf era, no. I mean, you have to be cognizant of the fact that this is going to be played by video game fans who may have never read a comic book. Hopefully they will after this. But, you can't get too immersed in the continuity and the minutiae of it, much as that is my instinct. But you also want to put in little Easter eggs and things that longtime fans of the comics will say, hey, I know where that's coming from. So, I mean, as far as things what was the question, things you can't do?
Yeah. Like things you can't do from a game design standpoint that maybe you had a scene in mind or a sequence in mind. And then
I had a list of about 8 million characters. We need Union Jack in here, and we need Baron Blood. No, you can't have Baron Blood. It's like... but I was amazed with what I got, which was Iron Cross and some of the other stuff. I mean, designing every character that is designed is its own, I don't know what you call it, but they basically have to design the entire character, make them move, all the different movements. So yeah, sure, there are things you can't do, but there are much fewer restrictions than there are in live action television or film when you actually have a budget in mind and, sets and things like that. So it's sort of, comics offer the greatest freedom, but this offers a very strong level of freedom.
Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned video game fans versus comic book fans, because I think traditionally, at least in the past, superhero video games have been slammed. However, it seems to be changing a little bit now, and in particular, there seems to be a lot more give and take. Dan Slott writing Shattered Dimensions, you writing this. Do you think that is the way we're seeing things going?
I think so, especially as you see, I mean, when I was in film school, I don't want to say it wasn't that long ago, but when I was in film school, there was a lot of what I call hierarchy within different media. If you wrote for film, you didn't write for television. If you did, it was because you couldn't get work in film anymore. It was a step down. If you wrote live action, you didn't write animation. It was very hierarchical. And by God, you didn't write video games, you didn't write comic books. Then you had people like Kevin Smith and Joss Whedon who were like, well, no, I like this and I want to do it. And now it's the opposite. People really want to diversify. So I think you're going to see a lot more of that. And I think that's the direction things are moving in. People are saying, okay, we're doing a game about Spider-Man. Let's get Dan Slott, who writes Spider-Man, to write the game, and I think it makes things work out better.
Can you give us any teases as to things that we're going to see in the game? Any heroic guest stars? We know about some of the villains.
I don't think I'm allowed to talk about. There will be some supporting characters. The only playable character is Cap.
Right.
But there are going to be some heroic supporting guest stars. I think I mentioned all the villains: Red Skull, Arnim Zola, Baron Strucker, Madame Hydra. It's just I just got to play a little bit of the game. It's really cool. You can bounce the shield off multiple targets just like you would want to, and it's just a lot of fun. Trying to think what else can I mention. It's Cap being Cap,
Very important question, since you did play the game. How are you at it?
I suck at it. I suck at it. I'm still getting used to it, No, but it's actually. I have to mention that I'm not what you would call an avid gamer, simply because I have these impulse control issues in which when I get a game, I have to sit and play it obsessively and continuously until I finish it. I sit there, my personal hygiene suffers, my work schedule suffers, the people around me suffer, and so I'm very judicious about when I actually get a game. So I'm not what you would call a skilled gamer, but I really like the feel of it. I mean, you're like, okay, I want to throw my shield at that guy, and it's pretty intuitive about, you throw your shield at that guy, and so it's actually a lot of fun. And you feel like Cap, you're doing all these acrobatic things, things that if I ever tried in real life, I would break my neck. So.